Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Okay, now it's time to introduce our main speaker for tonight, Chuck Z.
I know. Chuck Z. That used to confuse the hell out of him because Charlie Chamberlain and he had Chuck C and I had Chuck Z, and so they said, who in the hell's speaking tonight? And everybody would say, I don't know. It's good to be back amongst the old territory. I got sober out in West Covina. My sobriety date is February 18th, 1953. Thank you. I earned every damn minute of that. Tell what we were like. Shit, it's none of your business. What the hell did I tell you? What I was like, if I had known that I had to do that, I'd invited my wife and she'd have taken up 3 weeks of your time telling you. What? Alcoholics Anonymous to me is a phenomenon. I was introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous because my mother was on the program. And she had a pal named B. Follett Davis Gray. I guess you all know B. She's with that Friendly Hand Foundation, was from Texas. And when I was back in Missouri where I met my wife, all of a sudden I drank myself out of welcome back there, and I came out to California. And I weighed over 200 and some odd pounds, and one of my teeth were busted, and, you know, my mother took one look at me and said, oh my God, you know. And what was strange about Mom was she wasn't sitting reading the newspaper upside down anymore. She wasn't running out the salt and the gravy. Oops, I forgot the salt and the gravy. Whatever. And so she said, I belong to a wonderful organization. I said, what is it? She says, it's called Alcoholics Anonymous. It went over my head like a balloon. And so the gals, they had a 6300 club. The gals got a mansion down on 3rd Street. And boy, they decorated that up, and they loved to get dressed up in the party dresses and the big earrings and the big purses. And we go down there, and she introduces me. She says, this is my son, Chuck. And a couple of guys says, oh, come on, Chuck, come with us. So I sit down at this table, and they're telling me all about their drinking and everything, and it's about as interesting as reading a stock market report. And finally, one of them said, can I get you a drink? And I said, yeah, now it's sounding interesting. And the son of a bitch brings coffee. I said, oh, I don't like this place, I don't think. And so B and Mom used to pull all kinds of tricks to get me to drive them to meetings. They were hoping I'd get it through osmosis, I guess. And so they would give me this sad story about the 2 women on the Pacific Coast Highway, because this was back in the 50s for the 3-ways. And I'd say, okay, I'll drive you, you know. And it never dawned on me till I got sober that nobody in their right mind would approach those 2 broads. And so we'd get to the meeting, and it was, you know, I was bored out of my gourd. And finally one night, B said to me, honey, I want you to listen to the speaker. I want you, maybe he's reading y'all's mail. And I said, okay, B, I won't go outside for my cigarettes. I'll sit and listen like a good boy. And this guy came on as Big Red. I don't know whether, it's a long time ago, I don't think he's still alive, but he had hands like a tennis racket. He was a huge man, and he starts. And man, I'm on the edge of my seat. I'd never heard anything like this. This guy was involved with kidnapping, counterfeiting, rum running, gangsterism, Rapes Anonymous. He was going on. And I looked over at B and I said, reading my mail, Oh, I'd have to take alcohol enemas to catch up with this guy, you know? And so I went on my merry way for about 3 years, and one day I came home, and my pitch is not about what I was like. My pitch is talking about staying sober. Anybody can stop drinking, get sober. But for me, the alcoholic, my concern is staying sober. And so one night I got in a big fight with the wife, and out in West Covina, the place behind me, they had planted cabbage and cauliflower, acres of the damn stuff. So I go in, and I got in a fight with her. I go in and take her grips and pack my clothes, and I'm running away from home. Well, you ever try to be snockered out of your mind and carrying 2 grips and walking through a field of cabbage? It's quite an interesting stunt. And so I get out in the middle of this thing, and I turn the long grip up on its edge, and I take the short one and I put it up there, and I have me a podium. And I have my own AA meeting. And I'm telling that one cabbage head that looks like B what the hell I think of her and my mother and all the other guys. And finally I said, screw you people and the jackass you came in on, and I pick it up and I walk over to the side of the road, old Highway 39, because I'm going up to 66 and go to Las Vegas and win some money, and you know why, and what I'm going to do. So I was walking along, and all of a sudden, it wasn't those crocodile tears that I used to get when Mom and Dad would come out to see Mard, and they'd pay attention to her, and I'd see them walking out the car. They wouldn't talk to me. And I'd say, look at them, by God, they won't talk to me. They'll bet her ass, but they won't even talk to me. You know, I'm going to get a job, and I'm going to pay them back every damn with interest, too, you know, and then I'd go and sit down and have another drink. And those crocodile tears running down my cheeks, it wasn't that kind. What happened was I fell on my knees between those 2 grips, and I began to sob from way down in my gut. I'd never had that feeling before. And for a few minutes, I went through that. And all of a sudden, I looked up and I said, oh, God, help me, I'm an alcoholic. And so I went home the long way. And I walked in and told her, because she had given up on me. She told me after I got sober that was the last night. She was leaving with the kids. And so I told her, I said, I'm going to get sober and straighten this thing out, and then I'm going to leave. Well, we just celebrated our 61st wedding anniversary. I ain't got shit straightened out yet. That miracle. I tell you. We had 7 children. We lost 2, a baby, and then a good-looking 32-year-old to an overdose. And out in Covina, out there, Calabasas area, we had a 52-25 club. And I had been to that meeting, and man, I came home and I was on cloud 9, and the phone rang. And my youngest son said, Dad, is Mom there? I said, yeah, what's wrong? He said, Paul died. And so, man, that was like a spear in the middle of my gut. And the terrifying thing to me was at that time is I belonged to a program. I seemed to help everybody else, but I couldn't reach this kid. He used to come by the studio and see me, and he'd come into my office, and I'd say, well, let's go to lunch. And he'd say, oh, no, Dad, I got to go, you know. And it was a real sad period in my life. Of the 7 kids, this young baby died. I don't know, went through a period there. You know, we talk about things in sobriety, the miracles that happen. There's also the tragedies that hit you and I in our life. And so my oldest boy was in a fire accident, burned 68% of his body. The young baby died. The middle child passed away. I used to walk over to the window and say, what the hell can you do to me today, you know? And it was the only time I pounded the table and said, my mom and wife were there, and I said, this is the only time I wish I could take a drink. But in my mind, I knew that a drink wouldn't do it. And so my key to sobriety is, no matter what happens, I don't drink. And so the backup of this program and the things that I had learned in it at that time is what pulled me through all of those conditions. I know the anxieties and the things that we go through with the emotions, new people. I remember that night on February, about the 15th. I went through those wino withdrawals. I had the shakes, man, so bad, and the DTs, and my arms would fly out. And the kids were saying, "Stay away from Dad." And I'm going like, "Woo," you know. So the old man will kill you. So it scared the hell out of the wife. She called a couple of the guys over in Arcadia, and they said, "What's he doing?" And she described it, and they said, "Good." She said, "What do you mean good?" They said, "Let the son of a bitch sweat this one out, he'll remember it," you know? What she didn't think too much of those AAs. Swimming across the living room floor like a dolphin. And so they said, "Well, if he'll stay sober, we'll pick him up and take him to the Temple meeting in Temple City at the Women's Club." So, man, I really had the jerks. Man, I was still shaking. And so she helped me get dressed, and I said, "Do I look all right, honey?" She says, "You look fine." And I didn't know what to do with my hands, and I didn't want to put them in my pockets because I didn't feel romantic that night. And so the doorbell rings, and we open the door, and the guy takes one look at me. He says, "Oh, my God." And I said, "Please, I got to get to the meeting." Well, we go down the steps, and he's got a brand-new Pontiac, a 1953 Pontiac. And that's when they first started colors. And it's a forest green and a lime green and everything. And I'm down there, "Oh, boy, look, I like cars, you know." And so he goes to stick the key in the door, and he freezes. And he looks at the car, and he looks over at me, and then he looks back at the car, and I'm, what the hell are we waiting for, you know? Finally, I looked at him. I said, "Don't worry, I don't have anything left to throw up in that thing." He said, "You sure?" All the way to the meeting, I've never had anybody care for my condition. So every 4 blocks, "You all right?" "Yes, God, I'm okay." I'd get in the meeting, and here's Artie Buckmeyer and a few of them saying, "Hi, did you have a good time?" And so I'm leaning up against the block wall over there, and I was those card clubs, wicker chairs, you know, they got a little thing on it, they got the wicker thing in there. I was sitting on a thing that sounded like a coffee can, or oil can, going blink, blunk, blink, blunk, blink, blunk. And I thought I was disturbing this little old lady in front of me. And so I got up and leaned against the wall, and all of a sudden I started down. You know. And 2 of them saw me, and they grabbed me, and they lift me up, and they run in the kitchen, and they come out with a jigger and a glass of orange juice. And they hand me this jigger, and I said, "Drink it." So I thought it was a shot, you know. And I went, boom, like this, and when I did, I had a recall. Because when I was a kid, my mother gave me castor oil in a shot glass and orange juice. And so I'm going, and they're all backing up. And then, you know. Finally, one of them got alongside of me. I said, "What is this?" They said, "It's corn syrup." I said, "Oh." I drank the orange juice. That was the formula back in those days for everything that was wrong with you. Orange juice and Carol syrup. And so the process started, getting acquainted in AA. And you know, I was frightened that night in my first meeting. I was scared to death. You know what I was scared of? I was afraid that this was going to be another one of those false promises. I'd been here before. I had made those promises to everybody, I'm not going to do it again. And they talk about this in the book, about between 20 and 24, page 20 and 22, somewhere on there, about our memory. And if I remember correctly, I used to say, "I'm not going to do this again." But then you start feeling good, and your memory starts fading about the way it was. And the first thing you know, you're back on it again. And that time comes when you can't generate enough strength or hope to not take that drink. And I was afraid that that's what was going to happen to me, that this would become a part of a passing parade, and I'd be doing the same thing. And so that fear that I had was a healthy fear. And so I start with this process of becoming sober. And it is a process. Quitting drinking is the event, but the becoming sober is the process. I searched for serenity, and then I got a big surprise. I found out that women can buy that in a box, so I gave that up. And so the whole process of becoming sober started. Now, the spiritual message I wanted to hear as I started feeling better was, how do I pay my rent? How do I get this sheriff off my ass? That's a spiritual guidance I need right now. I don't need all this bullshit about God and the fourth step and all this other crap, you know. How do I save my ass from going to jail and all this, you know, very spiritual, philosophical questions. And I got the same thing I got when I was drinking. Well, if you just stop drinking, everything will be all right. I used to get so damn tired of hearing that. Well, if you just quit drinking, everything would work out. Up your ass and on the donkey I rode in on, you know. I'm sitting in my old overstuffed chair with my wine bottle and other foreign objects. And this neighbor of mine is looking at me and saying, Chuck, why don't you use your willpower? Oh, God, if I had any willpower to use it on my bladder, right? I hate those people. Use your willpower. I said, you ever tried when you got diarrhea? And so this process of becoming sober, those moments of questions, the seeking, and this God as I understand him. And so I went on a 12-and-a-half-year search because I was raised in the Catholic nunnery by the Penguins. And so this God thing threw me, boy, I'll tell you. So I went on a 12-and-a-half-year search. And one day I was sitting on the edge of my bed and I said, dear God, you've shown me all the great minds of the world. You know, I even have a degree in human behavior. I got a degree in architecture. I got a degree in engineering. I was overqualified for this damn place. And so a voice within me said, Charlie, it's in the book. And it was funny because the book was sitting there. Now, most of you are not acquainted with the book we had. It had what we called a Mexican menu. It had that orange paper cover over the top of it. And I want to tell you, when I was walking those fields of West Covina out there, and I had my book with me, people thought I was a Jehovah's Witness. Everywhere I went, I had this book under my arm. Because back then, you couldn't call your sponsor. They were all working. So I had the book, and I was walking between the orange groves reading the book, you know. And I was having a conversation with God like this. Is this the way to treat your friends, Jesus? I quit drinking, blah, 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 you know. It's all your fault I got this damn situation, you know. And so as I was sitting on the end of the book, on the edge of the bed, he said, it's in the book. So I reread the book. And the understanding that I have, and new people, I don't know if they still do it down here in California. But when I was down here, I was also the president of the secretary of the Pacific Palisades group when we used to meet out there in the men's club overlooking the golf course. I've been all over this Southern California in various meetings and everything else. And the one thing that just ticks me off is we look at the newcomer. He's got what, 6 weeks, maybe 3 months, and we run at him. Have you taken your inventory? Are you on the fourth step? The guy can't remember he's got his fly open or closed. And he looks at you like, what fourth step? Do I get thrown out? You know, get a sponsor, you stupid son of a bitch, you know? We must scare the shit out of new people. And this bullshit of, you know, step 3, said, God as you understand him. I had a young kid come up to me a few months ago, and he says, I'm having trouble with God. And I said, what is it? He says, I don't know what to call him. I said, Sam's a good name. He looked at me like I was out of, I just got off the turnip truck. And I looked at him and I said, Sam, do you know how many names that God has all over the United world? I said, no, every tribe's got a different name for him. You think he was going to get pissed off because you called him Sam? There's no worry. He's just, Samuel is a Jewish name. He'll be all right. And so all of these questions that I ask, I see the new people, they're going through this, trying to find an understanding for this. What did I do about that, And the third step, I finally had to resolve. I have a partnership now with my Creator. I do my morning meditation. I was on my knees for a few years, and all of a sudden a voice said to me, get the hell off your knees. I didn't create you to be a wimp and a beggar. Start living. I gave you a program. And it came to me, because that's what I was searching for. I used to hit the religion stuff. Some of you new people, you're not quite sure you want to be here. If you're broke, the best thing to do is to go to these religious people and give them the sad story about you're trying to help yourself and you got a family. They're always good for 20 bucks. And they'd say to me, Charles, I'll pray for you. And I'd say, why? So you have a happy death. And I'm saying, I'm laughing myself all the way to the to the funeral parlor. What the hell are they talking about? Have a happy death, And so I said, I'm looking for somebody to teach me how to live. Teach me how to live. And so I found it. It's here. It's AA. Teach me how to live. How to be somebody, I used to have a saying when we were drinking, let's have a party. I want to get drunk and be somebody. And so this process of becoming sober, that's why I say I like to talk about that. And the ones I like to thank are those that went out and experimented and have come back. Because they proved to me that this disease is a progressive disease. I look out on my lawn up there in the mountains and it's becoming dormant for the summer. And that's just the way this disease of alcoholism, it's dormant. And then when the spring comes and the moisture hits the grass, it becomes again. And this is the way that alcoholism is. It's laying there dormant, and the minute the alcohol comes, it blossoms forth and becomes the big weed that it is. This is a continuous problem. I laugh and I joke, and I have a lot of fun in AA. Why? Because I don't ridicule myself. I don't carry those rocks around in my back anymore. They said, love yourself. I said, how in the hell do you do that? And coming home from a meeting one night, talking to myself, and a message came through, is you quit ridiculing yourself. Because see, I had about 25 years on the program, and I was still on Chuck's ass. Here I am, sober 25 years, and I'm still ridiculing this poor fucking wino that didn't have any brains, he didn't have anything. All he could think about was surviving in that drink. That reminds me, do you ever wake up and it's dark outside and you don't know whether it's 9 or 10 o'clock or 3 in the morning, and you're saying, oh my God, I wonder if I have anything left. And so I start searching through all the places, finding nothing. And finally I said, oh, I remember, I got some out in the ivy. So I'm out in the ivy in this middle of this night, and I'm crawling around, and the snails are going, and the dogs are barking, and the next thing, they're helping you hunt for whatever the hell you're hunting for. And so I find the bottle, and I have about this much in it, boy, and I took it by the teaspoonful, so I could make it till the joint's open. And they talked to me about insanity. What do they mean about insanity? Doesn't everybody live like this? Doesn't everybody? I went, a guy bought it in Corona. He bought a ranch. And being an architect, he wanted my opinion about what to do with this damn thing, how to lay it out, because he was going to do it for a drunk recovery ranch. So I go out there and I'm walking by the barn. As I came around towards the corral, 2 huge animals attacked me. Wild mustangs they found in the hills. And I said, what are you going to do with these things? And he said, we're going to shoot them. I said, nobody shoots horses. So I get him a big old roadmaster, and I go downtown, and I can't find a damn horse trailer, so I buy a stake trailer. And it took 6 of us to get those horses on that damn trailer. Man, I take off from my ranch in West Covina, which was a 50 by 100-foot lot. And I tie one horse to the front tree and one to the back tree. The next day, my neighbor come over and he said, Chuck, you were the damnedest thing I ever saw. I said, what do you mean? He says, I saw you on the Corona Highway. They're doing 70 miles an hour. Those horses in their back, their noses open like this, their tails are straight out. He said, I had a vision of you putting an apple in his mouth and shooting out his ass like a bazooka. Now, I've had lots of horses that are raised around them. My kids, my son out there, Malibu, boards 90 of them, and he's part of that hunt club and all that crap. You don't teach horses to jump backwards. They just refuse to do it. But these 2 jumped off of that trailer. I think if any of you have any animals, I think it's called kennel dog food. I think that's what it is. And so these animals were just too wild. And so these are some of the experiences I've had. And I used to get mad because they talked to me and said I was insane. The nerve of these bastards. I'm not insane, I'm just a fun-loving alcoholic. People just don't understand me. And the other thing that gets me are these damn bumper stickers. Easy does it. I was sitting there shaking the hell. I'd like glad to do anything, easy or not easy. I just didn't know what to do with myself. And the other one is turn it over. I did. It's got a rook on the other side. I'm driving out the Ventura Freeway. I'm up behind an old VW bus. And on the bumper it says, if you know Bill Wilson, honk. So I honk. You know what he did? We have a joke in Oregon about Southern Californians. Do you know how we tell that you're from Southern California? This is the only finger that's suntan. But AA is the same all over. We have wonderful people up there. They're not if you don't, like here, if you have a BMW or something like this, you show, you know, the prestige. Up there, if you drive up in an F-150, you're in. And up there, we wear sweatshirts and clean jeans, and then we call that an Oregonian tuxedo. And so I had a hell of a time finding clothes to put on to come down here, because the old rule we had used to have a tie on and your watch. And I used to sit there looking at this guy, and the son of a bitch is all dressed up and telling about what great life it is and how successful he is and everything. And I'm looking at him and I'm saying, look at this son of a bitch, he's even wearing his watch. Mine was in hock for $5. And so this becoming sober is quite a wonderful adventure. And new people and those that took your birthday cakes, that energy and that joy and that thing that you feel, especially after that first year, hang on to that feeling. Hang on to that feeling, because for the next so many years, it'll be what establishes a substantial identification. The emotional part of the disease of alcoholism is something that it seems to be built in. I don't know why I picked this watch. You can't read the damn hands on it. You got those card signals for me when to shut up? Okay. I get diarrhea of the mouth up there, and they think, oh, God, Chuck's talking. Somebody ask him a question. Well, I get diarrhea of the mouth because of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I talk about some of the things that are going on with it. And so we run over a couple of minutes. And yeah, 3 minutes, that's good. I coughed that long, Jerry. And so I want to wish all you new people welcome to a wonderful outfit. I'm not going to blow smoke up your butt. I'm not going to tell you it gets better. There'll be days when you wonder where in the hell that God is. You wonder who you can talk to, that loneliness. All of those things are part of growing up. It's all part of it. As one old timer told me, how in the hell would you feel? You were loaded. Now you're feeling real life. Another thing that gets me is they say, well, I finally learned to accept life on life's terms. And I'm saying to myself, terms? Are they taking out a loan? That balloon payment must going to be a bitch. Or I'm happy in my own skin. Well, that's fine. I don't think anybody else would be happy in it. Not. You know, this is a phenomenon. I have a lot of fun in Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't have to take it serious anymore. 84 years old, what the hell have I got to be concerned about? I don't care, I'm not impressed very easy. I was in the entertainment business, I've seen all the bullshit. How do I look? Sideways, asshole. Sit down and read the script. My family was in it. I had an uncle who was a little on the gay side. He was a he was a silent movie star. He was always emoting all over the place. And so the show business wasn't no big thing to me. I used to work from 5 in the morning sometimes till 5 in the morning, it was work. My wife would say, who's at the studio today? And I said, I'll be damned if I know. They weren't on my call list. I was a production designer. And before that, I was into management. I shrunk Fox down to the little one. And these people from New York would come and they'd say to me, I'd say, I need some money for I got an old refrigerator thing trying to keep the air cool. I don't know nothing about that, Charlie. I just make deals. And so I got out of that and got into production. And so my last Hall of Fame before they retired me was that Dallas show. I designed and established that thing. And that was when they shot JR, and I lost all my friends and relatives and everything else. I wouldn't tell them who shot the bastard. And I said, if they renew the show and he's still alive, I'm going to shoot that son of a bitch myself. And so I want to wish all of you new people and congratulations on your birthday. And my wishes for you is that you start enjoying your sobriety. I know. I had about 6 weeks and this asshole walked by to me and he said, hi, Chuck, enjoying your sobriety? Yes, I am, and I'd love to kick you right in the crotch. And so those emotions and things that you stand around practicing all these years denying them, accept them. You see, I'm the sum total of everything I've been right up to this moment. I've made my amends. I've done everything that they told me. I'm free at last. I used to say I wanted to be free from. Today, I say I want to be free of. And so this program has given me a way of life. I live very comfortable. I come down to Jerry's. We've been friends for 29 years or so. And he spoils the shit out of me. It's wonderful friends. And I hope that you establish a lot of wonderful friends in AA. I was hoping Ackerman would show up tonight, but I guess he was having sex with his wife about 3 feet away. And I love his pitch. And thanks for receiving me. I really appreciate this.
Okay, and
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.